All right, I want to start off by thanking our partners and our sponsors. This would not be possible without them. The province of New Brunswick, very important partner to have if we're talking about transforming government and opening data. Mars Solutions Lab, we have Jerry Coe here, who's going to, after we've filled your brains full of ideas over the next day and a half, allow for a structured dump of those ideas and some actionable items. Springboard Atlantic, Deloitte for bringing in Paul McMillan, author of The Solution Revolution. The city of Fredericton, the first open city to provide open data. Wicked Ideas for covering the event, and our 4 partner university academic institutions. I wanted to open the conference with one man, and that's Andy Scott. I first met Andy just over 10 years ago after he had been assaulted in his constituency office for the work he was doing on same-sex marriage. And I learned something very interesting that day from him, and I don't think many people know it, but the first time he voted on same-sex marriage, he voted against it. The second time, in a speech to his caucus, he said that the last time I voted for my parents. This time I'm voting for my children. And I thought that was so powerful, and that speaks to the kind of man that Andy Scott was. Someone who was not entrenched in his position, but allowed himself to be changed by new ideas and new information. And so that's the kind of attitude that I want us to be moving forward with, to allow ourselves to be changed by new ideas and new information, and throughout the next 2 days to have that kind of attitude, to be thinking forward about where we're going and not the reverse. Another thing about Andy is that some of you may have heard the startup notion of getting out of the building. You know, you have to get out of the building and talk to experts, talk to your clients, talk to your customers, your constituents. Andy, that was Andy. And most people from Fredericton know the stories. And he embodied that notion of getting out of the building, and he created the New Brunswick Social Policy Research Network to do that and to call other folks out of the building, whether it's government, academia, community organizations, to come together collaboratively to inform policy development and engage citizens. So that's what we do. Our mission is to advance evidence-based policy development and citizen engagement, and we do that through a variety of programs and activities, this being one example of the kind of thing that we do. And you all have our contact information in your bags in those nice little GovMaker business card holders. All of our staff cards are in there. If you're looking for help on a research proposal, or you want to connect with knowledge users in government or community, we're here to help. So open government and open data support our mission. Open data can provide us with new insights into challenges and drive decision making. And open government, we look for new ways of engaging citizens that are effective and actually engaging. So I'm going to do things a little bit differently this morning, a little unorthodox, but I want to bend your minds a bit. Does anybody know who this is? No. This is, I'm glad nobody knows, because it would have screwed me up a little bit. This is Rodney Mullen. He is known as the grandfather of skateboarding. He invented the ollie, the kickflip, and the shove-it, all of which form the foundation of modern-day skateboarding. Very important stuff. So he did that. Does anybody know who this is? made it a little bit easier because he has a skateboard like on his head. So yeah, Tony Hawk, he is the best known skater of all time. Notably, he has a skateboard video game, and he broke the world record. In 1999, he had done the first 900-degree spin on a skateboard in a half pipe. Pretty amazing stuff. They were part of a group, a skate team called the Bones Brigade, and if you ever watch a documentary about the Bones Brigade, it's amazing. These guys will tell you that, I mean, first they'll tell you how amazing their community was and how it allowed them to be the individuals they wanted to be. But they'll also tell you that they pushed the limits because by supporting one another and learning from each other, they were able to innovate. So once one of them proved that a trick was possible, the others would then be able to learn that trick and innovate on it. So now we're seeing some pretty interesting stuff like this happening. This is the 70s. This is Roger Rowland. You don't need the music. It's things like the, you like the music? Yeah. You're pumped up. Yeah. So I'm showing you this because it's Monday morning and it's supposed to be coffee for your eyes. So I almost wasn't able to show the video, and I was getting really nervous. I was going to have to show you the trick. So you don't have to know a lot about skateboarding to understand that. That's quite impressive stuff that he's doing there. And actually, a lot of skateboarders can't do what he's doing. So I want to know if that was a system of governance or a policy, what would that look like, right? I want us to be thinking about that. So here's Tony Hawk in 1999 breaking the record.
Sports figure over Shaq, over Iverson, over MJ even.
I just focus on something and I have to do it. I'll either get hurt, taken to the hospital, trying it, or I'm gonna make it. And that was the same for doing 900 at the X Games. It was my time to finally do it, or to be carted off and try it another day.
Last try right here, Tony Hawk 900.
At some point, you just tune everything out and you say, this is it, you gotta do it.
Literally, Pier 30 shook, and we felt the ground swell.
And we got a video game deal that was pretty lucrative. How many people thought they were going to watch skateboard videos when they came here this morning? Anyone? All right, good. Then my job is done. So I was actually doing some research. I wanted to write an article about skateboarding because that's the culture that I've come from. And so I was doing a little bit of research, and I learned that, you know, while it's incredible that Tony Hawk landed that, nobody thought it was possible. Since then, 13 people have actually landed that trick, which is amazing. And I think that speaks to my earlier point that once you prove something's possible, others are free to do it. You know, you sort of shape the reality a little bit. Something even more unbelievable was this.
My name's Tom Shar. I'm 12 years old. I'm from Malibu, California. I'm skating for 8 years. Mega ramp is the biggest ramp in the world. It's a 70-foot roll into a 50-foot gap and a 26-foot quarter pipe, which is 10 times bigger than a normal ramp. So it just makes it ridiculous. It took me about probably a year to get comfortable with the Mega and just skating it and going over the gap and going that high on the quarter pipes. I'm used to going 6 feet, not 15.
This is the first session that Tom even attempted a 1080. His 720s, phenomenal. His 900s on Mega, probably the best. But 3:26.12 was the first day that he ever attempted a 1080, and he got it in 5 tries. Phenomenal.
I landed the first ever 1080 on a skateboard, so I'm pretty stoked. I did it 5th try, which I thought it'd take me 3 days of trying it 40 times. I was definitely high enough, and I could tell I was spinning fast enough, and right about at the 720, I saw the coping again, and I was still 2-3 feet above coping, and I got around that last 360, and I was just amazed.
Everything that's right.
He's a little bit younger than Tony Hawk. So I thought that was unbelievable. I want to share that with you. A little bit inspirational. So what can we learn from skateboarding? Well, one, it's not easy. It's not easy to ride basically on a piece of plywood covered in sandpaper, hooked onto wheels, and you're unattached, going vertical through the air. But also sometimes things are seen as impossible. They're just challenging, but you can do it. Open government, we're likely to see, I would rather work on open government than try and attempt a 1080, I'll tell you that much. So the first thing, bailing, also known as failure in skateboarding terms. Tony Hawk fell 3 times before he landed the 900, and many, many more than that. Karina LeBlanc is featured here, launching the Failure Fund at the Pondé Center. I want to know what can we do to allow our civil servants to take greater risk in their jobs, because that's the only way we're going to innovate. So what is the public equivalent to that? Secondly is makers, and you can do it again and again. Makers, again, demonstrate what's possible. They do it first, you find out it's possible, and then you can do it. Then next is mentorship. They help exchange knowledge and skills required to execute. Community. You develop communities of practice to support one another and support innovation. This is Richard Pietro of the Open Government Tour 2014. He rode his motorcycle across the country, and he connected open government champions and communities across the country. And platforms allow us to advance and repeat. So the mega ramp, what is the government equivalent to the mega ramp? So one of my favorite notions of innovation is the Zen notion of mixing masters with newbies, with folks who are able to see with fresh eyes and folks who have massive expertise. And we have a really good audience for that today, because we have the Pondé Center Student Ambassador Program here. We have the 21 leaders. And most importantly to me, we have the youngest little GovMaker back here, my son Asher, at the back of the room. So without further ado, I would like to introduce our conference co-chair, Dr. Ted McDonald. He is the academic director of the New Brunswick Research Data Center and co-director of the New Brunswick Institute for Research Data and Training, which is a newly established facility on the UNB campus to house administrative data for the province of New Brunswick. He is also a professor of economics at the University of New Brunswick in Fredericton. And he was designated a UNB Research Scholar for 2012 and 2014, and has been the primary investigator or co-PI on over $1.5 million of research funding since 2009. His areas of expertise include the health status and health services use of immigrants, rural residents, minority groups, and other subpopulations, as well as an ongoing program of research on the socioeconomic and demographic determinants of cancer. He has published his work in a